What's going on? It's Justeeni here. This game is a game of heartbreak, a game of tragedy, and a game of all time. This is a very important competitive game. This is a platinum game in Poly Champions. It's a 3v3 team game. It's me, Chris, and Inno versus the Dragons team. And again, this is a high stakes, high caliber match. 3v3s end up getting very intense. Very little room for error. And I'm just going to be showing this from my point of view. We're going to make things about me today because that's what I do, I guess. Anyway, let's get right into things. So, opening kind of just starts typical Illyrian things, going greedy for the ruin. And I see Polaris immediately. Getting a vet sword, so very good start so far. Really nice, in fact. And because I'm like right next to Polaris, I can play very aggressively. The plan was already at this point, I'm going to take out Polaris and we're going to have a great game. Seems simple enough. Polaris is super weak. I am Illyrian and I just got a vet sword right next to them. But I get Sync. Very nice. I can go for the siege. I don't siege with a vet sword. They likely have their mini near, so I'd rather my warrior get frozen. I make Polytars be nice and aggressive. Sure enough, there is the Mooney. I can get a nice upgrade, get Explore. And again, things are looking pretty nice here actually for my aggressive plans. I've got a lot of stars, and this Explorer is going to be great for meeting stars. This is version 119, so this is pre-Explorer nerf. I even get to meet my ally, Inno all the way in this corner. He's doing pretty well. The Sluxlord is a little scary, but nothing I can't handle in this position. I even get the Lighthouse, which is a nice bonus. But then here, so some context for this turn. Why would I push my Polytar here? Okay, so this is gonna have some explanation. So basically, I was going on vacation. These are very long games. These are 24-hour games. These last a very long time. And yeah, I had to go on vacation during one of my turns. So, Inno and Chris planned my turn for me. And all I had to do was just play the turn. And so, Inno and Chris were planning. They were looking at this. The attack is very promising. As long as I can deal with the Mooney or overload it somehow. There was plenty of vision. So I knew that there were some units over here that I had to deal with. But all in all, I have a way of killing this Mooney. So things are looking very nice. All I have to do is push this Polytar. Because of how it spawned, it is going to push here. But if I just train a unit, like a warrior or rider, it'll push here, allowing me to then move and take out the Mooney. Now, when I was looking at the turn plan, I decided to push the Polytar first because I forgot that the order is actually extremely important. I'm like, I'll do this first in case it fails, you know, because I didn't have much time to look over it. I'm like, does that work? Well, let me see if it works. And it turns out, well, it only works if you train the unit. So I basically just completely fumbled. It's not over yet, but huge setback. I still have a nice attack here. But Luxor is starting to be pretty annoying. All I need to do is just take this city. I'm even pressuring Polaris' capital. Polaris doing their best to try to defend here. They take out my vet sword. Go for another freeze. Very annoying. I get a free spirit ruin though. I could potentially get Shiv later. I do some break ice to stop this Mooney from being too annoying. Mooney goes back for another freeze. And a nice break ice there. Very good tactics from the Polaris player, honestly. But I am able to go for some plays of my own. Capital Siege. And I can get a push. Take out the Rider. No need to take out the Mooney because all it's doing is freezing the unit here. It's not going to help unsiege the capital. And once again, this looks very devastating. This is looking very strong. But with the vision that we did have from our allies and stuff, we figured this should be good enough. No way they can unsiege both. Surely. Luxor's doing their thing, they get a giant, but it's honestly not too scary. because our Hodrick is doing really well, actually. Getting a giant there, pressuring Luxor's city here. But now Polaris freezes and has a rider in the fog there, able to just barely unsiege. And because we didn't take out the Mooney, freezes here, which means actually I'm not taking either city. Had I taken out the Mooney instead, it might have been a different story. But I am able to get a siege here. Some nice planning. But unfortunately my attack has kind of died. Even though I literally had like a forced wave taking the city, now Luxor's pressuring me. But you know, my attack is dying. All I need to do is just hold on to this defense. That's all I have to do here. Now some Hodrick defense here. They do make the mistake of moving this archer here, which they totally didn't need to do as far as I'm aware. But despite that, I actually cannot defend this straight up. That's really bad. I'm just losing the city to Luxor now. Trying to pressure here just to be annoying, kind of active defense by forcing them to defend. They can't attack me. So it's a good defensive resource. Training a lot of units. Luxor is being quite annoying though. But things continue. Of course, Polaris is going to unsiege. We kind of figured that would happen. This is all just to distract Polaris. Polaris does get a vet rider, which is a little scary. Now this is another important turn. So this was one that we spent a lot of time planning. And I'll kind of just show you what happens, and then I'll explain why. So this is how the turn played out. Most of this was us all working together. The one part that I was responsible for on my own was just deciding where to retreat these riders. We didn't actually have that much time to plan, just with how things were. So I was supposed to just figure out, where do I retreat these riders? And this is what I went with. So the idea is I'm expecting this to hold, which is definitely a little bit ambitious. There were a few things that I kind of forgot with that. But also, something that I forgot is actually this veteran rider here is very important, because I actually don't have a way of unsieging my capital if it gets sieged. And yes, my capital can get sieged quite easily here. I have this Polytar. And because of how I retreated my riders, if I just like retreated this 8 HP back, then I would have been able to unsiege my capital. That's what I was supposed to do. But I thought, oh, I could keep the city, and for some reason I just missed that this was a veteran, just straight up. So I just forgot they had a veteran rider that could siege my capital. And that's really, really bad. The one thing that I was responsible for, I find a way to mess it up. But yeah, this was the issue with my plan. Again, like, I knew that there was a warrior here, and I just forgot they could bridge. I don't know. So that rider retreat made no sense. They just get climbing in on siege. Now my 8 HP rider is completely useless. Yeah, it's literally just stuck there. It served no purpose. If it was retreated back here, then you'll see it might have been a little more useful. Now, Polaris starting to get very strong here again. My one job is to survive, but unfortunately I can't even do that. When my one job was to attack the opponent, you know, destroy their Polaris, I failed to do that, but now, boom, capital siege. Cannot unsiege. This rider can't even reach either, because this rider was able to bounce to block this. And Polaris sieging their ally. Again, zone of controlling. So I just don't have a way of unsieging. Very unfortunate for me. So I just lose my capital now, way sooner than I was supposed to. Which means, yeah, Polaris is going to be super strong here, which was not part of the plan. Now, our Hodrick and also our Barter, which we cannot see, they're also both very strong, but this isn't going to plan at all. And this is the thing in these Platinum tier games, you cannot afford to make the mistakes that I am making. Because that costs games. Now, the best that I can do right now is just hold on, because again, our Hoodrick and Barter are both very strong, but this Luxator is very good at stalling here. Same with the Polaris. This position is actually extremely complicated. You know, we've got the markets. Polaris doesn't have markets, they just have Ice Bank, but they do have some other interesting things that they can use here. I just need to stall as long as I can here to be really annoying, to force Polaris to train more units and all that. I am able to now finally just be really annoying. Luxator does end up taking the city, but that's okay. Our Hoodrick going to town with the markets, as per the plan. Lots of pressure. Polaris doing things, trying to basically be as minimalist as possible with the siege. Sieges with the warrior, blocks with the rider. Now I am still able to barely unsiege, just deal with things for one more turn. However, this will be my final turn here, I believe. I think this is. Now, going in with the siege. There with Hoodrick, hoping to break through this Luxator, because if we can do that, we're actually in a great position. Despite the Ice Archers and stuff, we just get knights for that. But yeah, double siege, cannot unsiege both. And of course, before I go, I do it like that. This was actually, that was actually not the correct way to do that. There was a better way. But sure, I guess. So, I've been knocked out. We'll just see this from my point of view, because why not? Actually, no, I can show Inno's point of view. He's got a lot of nice vision, so game still plays on even though I am gone. But yeah, unsiege there. And the issue in this position might become apparent in a little bit. It's not obvious the problem right now. We're gonna have knights and we're about to just throw knights at the opponent. Same deal here. And you see Barter getting markets, even renovating, using chivalry, just to optimize things for late game. Like, our markets are phenomenal for both our Hoodrick and Barter. And again, Polaris just straight up doesn't have those. And we see Polaris going in with this. But then this is the issue. Luxator destroys these bridges, and then Hoodrick has also been very annoying. Hoodrick bought Spiritualism to plant this forest. And so the issue, I can turn off Fog. I think this will show it very well. Is Polaris doesn't have the best economy. They won't have the best economy in the late game, so despite their city advantage, they're actually going to be down in eco, and we can outspam them in the long term. And ideally, we should be able to take out their Luxator as well, but unfortunately, it's just not quite that easy because the choke points make it really difficult to play this position. Now, at this point, like, by now, the season had already ended. This game had been going on for a very long time. And Chris and Inno are busy people, so we also just didn't want to grind through this game. It's still winnable, but it's difficult. So we resign here. It's a pretty wild position, though, not gonna lie. But yeah, all of this could have been avoided, though, if I just didn't throw twice, because if I had either defended for longer, then Polaris wouldn't have been so scary. We would have broken through. And, you know, if I had taken out Polaris, then they couldn't use their Polaris to carry. Easy win. Unfortunately, that is not how things played out. So, what is this? What is the moral of the story here? Something, Justeeni washed. This is why I'm on my training arc. Is, because this game started before I went on the training arc, and you can definitely tell. Anyway, though, I thought it was a pretty interesting game, besides all the crucial mistakes I made as Illyrian. I would highly recommend you go check out the replay. It'll be in the description. You can see the other point of views and stuff. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Like and sub, and have a good one.